Hello, welcome back to It's Just Another Day. Today we're talking about 7 trucking companies that filed bankruptcy on the same day. So this is a pretty serious issue in the trucking world, and today we're going to talk a little bit about that. As always, please like the video, please share the video, and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate that. But this person who runs a podcast called Mutha Trucker News named Alex Mai. So he just reported about this and kind of sounded the alarm, and I'm not involved in the trucking industry, so I don't know the ins and outs, but in the article, the person talking about it, he's pretty involved. So he talked about having the kind of frustration from someone that's involved in the industry that understands that for the country, any industry just about needs to have transportation, and truckers are the ones who get it done. So I've always heard a lot about the pressures that they're under. I knew a family where the husband was a short drive trucker. I think he only did shorter trips within like a state or two, so he didn't do like nationwide. And he was home fairly regularly. He wasn't one of these that would be gone for a couple weeks. But truckers, you know, they deal with a lot. If you can imagine dealing with driving for hours, traffic, all kinds of regulations and things. So Alex here in the podcast, he talked about how many drivers, this didn't feel like one company went under with the 7 filing for bankruptcy. But it felt like a whole cluster of familiar names vanished at the same time. So it's kind of a little bit of a shock to the industry. And so there were Chapter 7 and Chapter, I think, 13 filings. And Chapter 7 really matters because it's the difference between we're trying to get our stuff together and reorganizing, or we're just shutting down and selling what's left. And so it's a really big blow to those that have given their lives as truckers to these companies. The most important point Mike kept coming back to is that what looked like multiple separate collapses may have actually been a single corporate structure falling in one heap. So there seems to be some connectivity to this specific issue, and that's one of the problems when you have these corporations taking over multiple companies and then making the decisions for all the companies together. So if the decisions go bad, all those individual companies that used to be at least a reliable place to work, and they would be able to survive when the corporate structure takes over, and sometimes the one decision doesn't meet all the specific needs of each individual trucking company, that's when problems start. So he framed it the way drivers are experiencing it, which was basically one day you're part of a network of related carriers and support companies, and the next day the whole network is an exit sign. So that's why there's so much panic in the industry right now, because when drivers hear multiple familiar companies are going under, the first assumption is that the entire industry is blowing up and on fire, and not a single ownership structure is unraveling in public. So their main concern is, you know, are we next? And I mean, obviously, when you go out on the road, there's all kinds of trucks out constantly. Is it a sign of things to come? Is it a glut in the market of too many companies? So these are just the ones that maybe get weeded out. I don't know. But the messages that people were sending to Alex were all about, you know, these people that have worked their entire lives, putting into their pensions, 401ks, and life savings. Some had been with the company 10, 15, and 20 plus years, and now they feel like the money they put away for later had been erased. So that's a huge fear for a lot of people, where instead of, you know, some type of normal retirement, I say normal, 401k, IRAs, things like that, that are more tied to the stock market. These are, oh man, an owl. So that's cool, because sorry, I didn't mean to be distracted, but I don't think you can see it. We have owls here in the woods that I hear at night. That's the first time I've ever seen one, and just watching him fly up there. That's pretty cool. Anyway, so people rely on these pensions that they put into their entire careers and stay with the same company all this time. And then that company's gone and the pension's gone. Now what do they do? And there's really no fallback. So I really feel for a lot of these employees, because they're just kind of screwed. You know, they didn't take on like a sketchy employer, kind of taking a risk. These are people that thought that they did the grown-up thing, stayed with the company, building seniority and putting into the pension, and it looks pretty bad. So the moment operation stops being about saving the company and starts being about wrapping up, and that shift can be terrifying for anyone wondering where they sit in the order of who gets paid and who gets left waiting. If you're young enough and you have the skills and the company goes under, that's one thing. And you can just say, all right, well, I'll just find work with another trucking company. And I'm sure that's what a lot of these younger guys are going to do. But when you're my age, when you're, on the tail end of your career, I'm in my 50s, we're empty nest, and we're trying to figure out the next steps. We know like it could be another 5, 6, 8 years. We don't know how long till our career is done, and then we retire. And you hope that the things you've been doing your whole life pay off, that you can at least have a reasonably reliable retirement. But this would scare me to death, to have everything wrapped up in one company that you don't know if it's going to be there anymore. So drivers already live in a world where rate swings, fuel spikes, repairs. One bad engine issue or transmission or something with the truck, and now you're out of commission, you can't drive. It's a huge repair bill. You've got all that, and now bankruptcy for the company you work for adds a new fear, because in an instant all that's gone and all that you've worked for is gone. A lot of industries have this problem, but trucking is feeling it loudly because drivers live close to real world consequences of corporate decisions. And with corporate decisions like that, a lot of it is just numbers on paper, trying to boost their stock price. And sometimes they make bad decisions and it brings the company down, and it looks like that's what might have happened here. But the truck still needs fuel, insurance still needs to be paid. The rent doesn't care that your company converted to anything or consolidated or downscaled, whatever you want to call it. Anyone who still believes retirement is automatically protected because it's labeled a plan, because plans are only as solid as the institutions holding them up. When drivers tell they lost everything I saved for, that's a reminder that paper promises don't feel real until the day you try to cash them in. So, he went on his podcast and he's like, I'm not trying to scare anyone, but this is the reality, and it's facing 7 legitimate trucking companies that are no more, and the employees are real people that this affects, real families. It's a scary thing. What are your thoughts? For me, I look at it as, people have to buy stuff for companies to make stuff, then truck it to places, and, there's a whole line of trying to keep the consumer buying things, which isn't great in and of itself. I talked the other day about people going to debt just for more and more stuff. But that's, that's the culture in America, unfortunately. People can't say no to things. People can't keep things simple. Let's put it that. And people need to have the latest, the greatest, the fastest, the best, most expensive. So So that keeps industry alive, that keeps trucking company alive. And I think a lot of corporations get to the point where it's fueled by that constant need for things. So when that slows down, a lot of other things suffer down the road. So hopefully this is just a blip. Hopefully it's not a sign of things of more trucking companies going under. But let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you know anyone in the trucking industry and what they're dealing with. I'm sure there's all kinds of things that normal drivers driving down the road don't even think about. I try to give truckers some space when I'm, going around them. They have a lot of responsibility in their hands when they're out there on the road. So thank a trucker, thank them for what they do. As always, subscribe to the channel, and I hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.